morning, everyone. I've got a really interesting topic for you. So one of the things I talk a lot about and I work with clients to develop is their employer brand. And so I was actually talking to a prospective client a couple of weeks ago now, and we got into a conversation about their employer brand. And one of the questions I asked them is what they feel their employer brand looks like. You know, what do they think their employer brand is or looks like at the moment, both to I guess their internal team, so their current employees, but also the external market, so to the people that might be looking in and looking at potentially applying for opportunities with their organizations. And he said to me something that I was quite surprised about. We don't have an employer brand. I don't think we have one. And I thought, oh, well, that's a really interesting comment. And I asked him to expand on that a little bit. And, he thought because they're a smaller organization and they have a smaller number of employees, they have about, I think, just coming up for 50 employees, that they don't have an employer brand. They're in a small town in Oxfordshire, and yes, they're not a huge organization, but they're somebody that's known in that town. I guess you would have to be almost completely startup to not be known at all in the local area. So, so I said to him, you do have an employer brand. You might not know what that looks like, but you definitely have one. And if you don't know what that looks like, then the first step is actually going out there and understanding what your employer brand actually is. So going out there and starting to talk to people and to get a picture of what that is, because I can guarantee you do have an employer brand. You just don't know what it is right now. If your employer brand is not the one that you want at the moment, or it's not as positive as you want, at least you know what that is and you can do something about it and you can work to change it. If you don't even know what your employer brand is, then you've got a lot of work to do, because first of all, you need to work out what that looks like right now, and how's that's perceived by the external market. You need to understand it before you can actually put a strategy in place to change it and to move it in the direction that you want to move it in. There's a number of things I would do to understand what your employer brand is, but some of those initial things I would do is to start by talking to your current employees and ask them, do a confidential survey, ask them what they believe your employer brand is, ask them how they perceive the organization, ask them how they feel the organization meets their needs as an employee. That's how you'll start to understand your employer brand. Identify who in your business are the external parties that would have a perception on how you look to the outside market, and start to build up a picture in that way. It is also a really good thing to start to build feedback from prospective candidates. So, having some sort of a way of capturing feedback from candidates that have either been successful or not, to get a feel from them how they perceive your employer brand. But like I say, there's a number of different things you can do to do this. But I guess all I wanted to really cover off today, even though you don't know you have an employer brand, you most likely do. My top recommendation would be to firstly start to try and understand it, because you don't want to try and create an employer brand until you understand what your employer brand looks like in the first place. So get yourself out there, identify who those internal and external stakeholders are likely to be that can help you to understand your employer brand right now. Once you understand that, you can start to think about how you create the employer brand that you want, and what it is you need to change and develop, and and I guess have a clear understanding of the messages that you want to put out to the external market, and also to your internal team, to build the employer brand that you want to be perceived for in your market. And hopefully that gives you some food for thought. And if you do have any questions about employer brand, or how you can develop your understanding of that, and how you can develop it further and create the employer brand that you want for the future, then drop me a line and get in touch with me, and I'd love to support. Have a great day, everyone.